what has happened, van builders? This is Scott from Van Dingo. Welcome back. My daughter's van in the driveway. And this is day 2 of SumoSprings. But that's not SumoSprings. That's some additional work getting ready to go in to lay down the subfloor. Let's take a look at the SumoSprings. Okay, so here's the rears. And the length on these, it's important, about 8 inches in terms of where they go into the receptacle underneath and the cutout there for the axle. So that's important because one of the things they ask in the directions is that you jack the vehicle up, which we've done, put on jack stands, allow the suspension to flex down so you can remove the bump stop and put the SumoSprings in. All right, fellow van builders, I've assembled the tools of the trade to put in SumoSprings. So starting with safety, get those front wheels blocked when you're doing the rears. Obviously rear wheels blocked with chock blocks when you're doing the fronts. Gloves, probably help to have a pair of glasses. I don't have them sitting here. For me, those needle nose helped widen the receptacle where the super springs go in. The large format screwdriver, you get a good leverage on to push the shorter end of the SumoSpring up into the bracket. Directions, referred to those a couple of times. And to start things off, you're going to need that to lift up, and you need a good size one. That's 3-ton to lift up a Sprinter van. And then there's your 6-ton jack stand. So be safe when you're doing this. Be careful. Make sure you have all the supplies necessary before you get going. Let's get after it. Okay, under the van, here's a good look at the super springs that were put on. We measured this earlier and said we're going to need about 8 inches. So the axle shaft needs to be dropped down about 8 to fit. And based on it sitting, the super spring here sitting on this axle shaft, there's enough room up here between the two. I think we get the clearance we need. Also, don't forget to chock block the front wheels. That's important for safety purposes. So let's get to moving the old bump stop out. It's actually not that old, frankly, and put the super spring in. All right. All right, let's get going on this. It's just a twist. There we go. There we go. And the directions, I believe, said get one side in. And maybe this side, let's see. Time to go take a look at those directions again real quick. Took a look at the instructions. Doing it right, I think. But this baby just is tight. There. And that's in. Holy camole. It takes some muscle. Anyway, not too bad once you give it the big heave-ho. All right, here we go. Bit of a push. There's bump stop number 2. These aren't bad at all. They do their job. If you overweight your chassis, they'll provide some cushion on the axle, but not the stability and the extra support, maybe some improved road handling, certainly sway and those kinds of things that you get out of installing SumoSprings. So let me start by widening this just a little bit. I'm just taking a screwdriver out there, prying it down ever so gently. You don't want to get too out of control. There, that moves it a little better than a screwdriver. For me, anyway. This works a bit better than trying to pry it with a screwdriver. I'm having more success with needle nose. There's like a sweet spot of where you get the needle nose in, at least for me. There, it's starting to move. There. All right. Now, there's a long end over here and a short end. The long end goes towards the rear of the vehicle. Now, some people have sprayed some sort of lubricant on this end to try to get it to push up through. The one I just didn't have to do that. So let's see if we have that problem again here. Oops. Let's get that long end in. There we go. And then get my arm around this stinking axle here. And then we're gonna, whoa! Don't want to slip. Don't need that. And in she goes. Woo! Let's push this back a little bit. There. All right. I'm thinking when we set this axle down, or we set, excuse me, not the axle, when we set down the chassis, that should set nicely right on the axle. Okay, we're in with that one. And you can see there's a little bit of play there. It's not sitting directly on the axle. And remember, for my van, I'm not built out on the inside. So this is all preparation for the build out, because I was able to get these parts, and it's tough to get parts these days for all kinds of stuff. Anyway, when that gets weighted, we'll have additional support and stability. for the loads we're going to carry. You see that play in there? This is the passenger side. Again, not fully loaded, but when we get it built out, that'll rest right on the axle. Hey, guys, quick comment. These SumoSprings give me a lift in an unweighted down van. That's why this thing is not sitting down on the axle shaft. I'm pretty convinced of it because the SumoSprings give you a lift, particularly in a van that's not completely built out yet. So looking forward to when I get this weighted down and I get extra support out of SumoSprings, particularly if I ever want to tow, and then also stability and ride comfort and a number of enhancements that I expect out of these additional supports that are the SumoSprings. So I thought I might try an experiment here or do a little bit of measurement on suspension weighting. If I look at that, it's about 6 inches to the top of the tire. Okay, this is an unweighted Sprinter van, 2500 single rear tire. And my daughter's van, weighted, fully built out on the inside, batteries. It's not, doesn't have water in it at the moment. Right at about 4 inches between that fender and the tire. Now this is a plastic piece of trim on here. Actually takes up about 1 inch, frankly. So it's probably more like about right there. So 4.5 inches. So that's interesting. And then on the front, this is my daughter's van again, weighted down about 4 inches from fender to top of tire. And hers is a 2500 single rear axle. Difference is hers is a diesel, so she's got 500 pounds more of engine than I do probably. So mine's a gas, and I have 5.5 inches unweighted. Now SumoSprings are installed, SumoSprings are installed in the front end of this, not on hers, and SumoSprings and SumoSprings on the rear of this van, not on hers. So it'll be really interesting when we weight down this new van and then do the comparison. All right, fellow fan builders, that wasn't bad at all. I would say, you know, from start to finish, without the, this is always going to happen, but without the break I took in order to go take another gander at the instructions, this was probably a 45-minute job, jacking up each side of the van, blocking everything appropriately, and then doing the work, which was not bad at all. So we're done here. We got now front and rear SumoSprings in, ready to go for a fully weighted van to enhance stability, noise, vibration, harshness, I hope, sway, those kinds of things, additional load, all the things that SumoSprings and SumoSprings are there to help mitigate. So if you like what you're seeing, please subscribe. Please hit that like button. Send me any comments that you might have. More videos to come as we get going on the subfloor. I'm awaiting some parts, but they should be here in the next week or so, and we'll tear into that next. So thanks for joining me. Be good. Bye-bye.